The GIS journey in Garissa and Wajir counties in terms of Masiko started in around 2019. There was a program called BREST. So of course, a lot of programs around then were around supporting pastoralists, supporting the pastoral economy, a lot around natural resource management. And I believe the conversation was shifting to more sustainable ways of managing pastoral, the environment, livestock management, natural resource management. And so this conversation started in a conference or in a workshop that brought about different stakeholders within Wajir counties, a pastoral workshop. And within it, the importance of community resource mapping came out. And an outcome from that meeting is that the stakeholders started doing some bit of community resource mapping to basically support, to look at what are their rangeland resources that exist within their given jurisdiction. So when this information was collected, afterwards there was need to manage this information, to store it in a way that can be accessed, to visualize it in a way that can be consumed, and to ideally just use this information. So that's where the GIS conversation started. And fortunately this got pushed forward. Masiko came in with another program called the Livestock Market System, Feed the Future, funded by USAID. And within that is when some bit of activities here and there around GIS started. The community resource mapping was scaled to different words. That was initially what was initially done. There was some bit of workshops, a lot of trainings, a lot of sensitizations. They did a lot of training, and even within that, that's when a lab was actually constructed in Wajir. A GIS lab was constructed, and some bit of equipment the lab was a bit equipped with a few equipment. There was a plotter, there was some computers, there was even a server that was procured at that time. So we kind of started having some bit of infrastructure there. That was in about 2019. Even the building itself was built through the program. The county government had itself initialized some bit of engagement with the private sector to support them in coming up with an infrastructure around management of their county information. Fortunately, that's when the ASAL Adapts program was being conceptualized. And we used this as a case to actually build for what ASAL Adapts would be. Through LMS, a lot of cross-learning happened. I remember the county teams in both Garissa and Wajir were taken to Vihiga to have a look at some bit of benchmarking, what works, what does not work. And I'd say at that bit a lot of sensitization had been done, and the county government kind of had already started seeing value in this. But it was still a white elephant, that so many trainings would happen, different organizations, not only Masiko, we had WFP, it was like a concoction of everyone trying to empower the county government along this line. When the ASAL Adapts program was being conceptualized, I think that's when Masiko decided to have GIS as a portfolio, or to implement GIS as a portfolio. And ASAL Adapt stands for Adaptation Services for Action and Learning. It is basically, or the program mandates us to increase the capacity of the county government and communities to utilize data and digital technology to support rangeland management. So part of the objectives, or part of the activities or the deliverables, is that we were to support the county government in setting up spatial data infrastructure and basically build their capacity around its utilization. We began with Wajir, that was already a very low-hanging fruit because a lot of engagements had already started. So we worked with them. We ideally conceptualized what is called a county integrated resource management system, which is basically a repository of all county information from all departments. So the vision was to have a centralized platform where we can access, we can visualize, we can update county information, and this information is presented in a way that it can be consumed to support data-driven or to support decision-making. So it's designed to have different modules that serves different departments. So basically showing indicators that is relevant to that specific department in terms of metrics, in terms of charts, in terms of maps, in a way that can be consumed on we always say on a click of a button or on a snapshot. It was welcomed. The conversation was really welcomed by the county, considering a lot of value had already been shown. And for Garissa, for Wajir, we started with a strategy that basically just explained who will do what are we envisioning, what problems are we looking to solve. And I'd say at that point, the idea was to just have an integrated data management platform, of course, with a very special focus on the spatial bits. Fast forward, Wajir went on very well, and fortunately we were able to even commission that in good time. Maybe just to mention what the platform also provides is a data management protocol, because as I said initially, data was everywhere. Ideally, when you even go do an assessment of the information that's available there, the most recent information you'd get was for at least 2 years before that. But information is there, it has been collected, it's just that we can't access it. So that was the initial challenge, because ideally GIS without data is nothing. So it took us a long time to figure that out and see how we can do it, but we were able to secure some bit of baseline information. And what we did with that is that we kind of standardized the data formats or the data schema. What do I mean by that? For example, the Department of Education, what are they interested to monitor as a department? Of course, they want to understand the enrollment. They want to understand the infrastructure in those areas. They want to understand the impact of the school feeding program. They want to understand the population in terms of boys and girls. They want to understand the teachers who are there vis-a-vis the students, the number of classrooms. So we designed the data in a way, or the database in a way that these indicators are being captured. And we used that schema to develop data collection tools. Each department has its own data collection tool or form, or basically a schema, that anytime they're reporting this information, all these indicators are being captured. And this is fed directly into a dashboard that now basically visualizes all those main indicators. So we were successful in Wajir. We commissioned the system, it was accepted, the departments continued updating data, and that was fantastic. So again, Garissa in 2022, we came up with a strategic plan. Once we agreed on a structure and agreed on who's doing what, it was perfect. We continued the implementation, the system was up, the portal was up, and we were good to go. In both commissioning of this infrastructure, I'd say what even pushed the conversation from just having a lab to having a wholesome system is the issue of availability and the issue of utilization. GIS is not just a structure, and it's unfortunate that, okay, we were growing still, but you see initially when someone talked of GIS, it was just equipping a lab. If we have not operationalized this GIS to work for the county, it's just another fancy technology that no one knows what it does. We know what it can do, but no one knows what it does. Before commissioning, we now saw it fit to upgrade the lab that was at Wajir County, that had initially been done by Brest. So we at least upgraded the lab. We got nice computers. We added some few other things, and of course I must acknowledge that the FAO was also part of this in equipping the lab. So we brought some machinery, they brought some machinery, and we joined together to equip the lab. So it's a fully fledged state-of-the-art lab, if I must say. So again, why did we come back to the lab? And we are saying, GIS is not only the lab. We came back to the lab because of bit of what you call institutionalization. So you see, once we have something that is building towards the institution, it will strengthen its utilization. So it was more around sustainability and institutionalizing GIS as a major resource for the county. We did the same thing for Garissa. completed it. So we currently have 2 fully fledged labs. I'd say 2 fully fledged infrastructures for both counties. The fourth component is called people, the capacity. Throughout the implementation, it was more of a co-design approach. So we really tried to engage stakeholders, especially the people who would utilize it, the data officers within different departments who would utilize it. And I can say we've done more than 50 trainings in both counties within these past 2 years. A good example is in the Department of Livestock here in Garissa. The livestock department has a lot of information, a lot of information because of the investment that has been done by both partners and the national government. So there's a specific data officer who sits there, who's in charge of mostly data around vaccination, because they do a lot of vaccination day in, day out. So he normally receives data from the field written on a paper. So he has to come and put this data in an Excel and then try to just, he didn't even used to go beyond the Excel. He just present data in the Excel. So, and the first time we brought him to, or we introduced this training to him, he was like, yes, I've been struggling. This is what is going to help me. So he moved his, the way he handles data from hard copy to putting it in an Excel to actually doing maps, doing dashboards, visualizing this in a way that can be consumed. He moved from receiving paper data as from a paper written to him receiving data through a survey form. So he receives data when it's already in Excel, organized very, very well. And you see, it's not hard to teach our extension officers at the field to use this to fill out a form using a smartphone, because most of us do, or most of the members do have smartphones. So it was a game changer for their department. It made his work, he normally says it made his work 100 times easier. He was able to analyze more data in good time. He was able to even consume more information that he didn't have before. Now we are moving from data to information to insights. I'd say the learning that we pick from there is that it's easy to go to the need points rather than doing a wholesome training. It's more impactful to focus on these people who, one, already have some bit of background on information and they do handle this information, and two, going to the relevant departments. The fifth one, which is the policy. The policy and workflows. I'll start with the policy. For the policy, I'd say this is Garissa and Wajir, the first county, no, actually the second counties to have a fully fledged GIS policy. So some of the things that the policy highlights or brings about is, number one, it encourages, or it actually dedicates annual resources or annual financial resources to support GIS activities from the county. So you see, what this says is that within the budgeting or the planning of the county in terms of resources for every year, there has to be some bit of allocation to support GIS activities. It could be training, it could be data collection, it could be anything. And I love what Wajir did, because Wajir really encouraged that every department to ensure there's some bit of budget. So the recommendation actually for the policy is that at least let the county have a budgetary allocation for that. Number two is the institutions. So the institutional framework for this is who's going to coordinate this, right? So the proposed institutional framework was, we can have a secretariat at the high level that is basically made up of the CECs and all that, to kind of be the ones who pushes for this when it comes to budgeting and when it comes to all that. But apart from this, the secretariat, the key institution that was established, number one is a GIS unit for the county, which the recommendation was let it be placed under the Directorate of Lands. So the recommendation was for this GIS unit, its role was to coordinate, or is to coordinate all GIS work. If it's training, if it's anything, they're the ones who ensure, they're the ones who plan for this thing, they're the ones who plan with partners who ensure that this, they're the ones who even go, ideally they're the TOTs to go train these other people. But we recommended that let this GIS unit be made up of professionals that will support this. So we propose that let's have GIS specialists, let's have cartographers, let's have developers, let's have engineers, surveyors, planners, all these people who would basically interact. Their day-to-day work would be GIS work. So supporting all the departments to make use of this. Then the other institution that it established also is a technical working group. Because again, we are not domiciling this in the Department of Land. It is being utilized in all departments. So we proposed, which is existent and which is what we've been working with throughout this implementation, a technical working group that basically has focal persons from all relevant departments, and both the county departments, the national departments, partners, and everyone. So it has focal people who are in charge or who basically drive this within their departments, within their organizations, utilize this information, contribute to this information and all that. Those are basically the institutions that we recommended to push this, again, as part of institutionalization. The final thing was the data management strategy. So this data management strategy actually proposed that let information be updated every 2 weeks, at least. If it requires a lot, a month. Maybe another highlight, so that basically also gave a lot around the data quality standards, the data protection issues, data accessibility stuff, all these protocols, and aligning them with the the national and international protocols. The last bit is the training. So again, the policy proposes or recommends that we have annual on-job trainings, these progressive on-job professional trainings for staff. All staff, including the key departments and even the support departments like the budget department, and also that when these things go there, they do know why it is required. So those are the policies that was supposed to at least help us, and that was a learning. We didn't know we need that. So, but with that we learned and we said we need to adapt to this. And finally, what we adapted to, or what again was a problem with utilization, is the workflow. For the Department of Environment, for example, what will they be using? What will support their day-to-day activities? For the Department of Livestock, what would support their day-to-day? Are we given that we need to customize tools or products that would fit them? So this is why we're talking about solutions. But we have been able to do this now for our case for the Department of Environment, Livestock, all these natural resources of the rangeland decision support tool that is currently underway, that would basically support these natural resource management departments to do a lot around monitoring of rangelands. Our sustainability plan as ASAL adapts was Garissa University. So the first thing we did is a strategic plan that was to establish a Geospatial Innovation Centre at the university. The strategic plan was from 2023 to 2026, and what the plan was to do was to first establish the lab and equip the lab, and second, to increase, because you see the objective is to increase the learning, the research and innovation in geospatial technology for rangeland management or natural resource management. So that's how we got into establishing a fully fledged department within the university. So we have a GIS lab, we're calling it the Geospatial Innovation Centre, fully equipped with all you may need hardware, or what I'd also say state-of-the-art lab. So initially, and I remember during the strategic plan, it's not that GIS was new in the university. The university is very strong in natural resource management studies. And they've been doing, of course, they have a lot of geography courses as well. So within this, you'd get there 1 or 2 units within the years that teach either remote sensing or introduction to GIS as 1 or 2 units, or cartography. So they used to do this, but of course, it was just, through words and theory and all that. So the first thing that this lab did was it supported the students in the way they learn GIS and remote sensing and all that. The other thing that happened during last week GIS week is, of course, we had, a general training for the county government. And of course, that culminated to commissioning of the facility. Fast forward to 1 year. Within this 1 year, of course, the lab has been very crucial in delivering most of this training that I've been talking about. Number two, as I mentioned, the students taking the courses that had GIS units now had most of these classes being practical than theoretical. Number three is during this training that we'd at least expose a number of students to be part of this training. We of course identified a good number of enthusiastic students who loved the idea, bought the vision as well, and proposed that they develop a geospatial club within the university that is basically a community for the students to teach themselves, to learn, do projects, researches and all that. So a geospatial club was formed during the beginning of this year in January. And what it does is for these 5 or so or 6 students that we include in some of this training, they'd go and replicate the same training to the rest of the students. So this really increased the capacity of these few students and of the rest of the students because you learn by teaching. The peer learning thing has been happening actually ever since April. Every weekend when the students are within the university, a lot is going on within that lab. As conversations continued about the curriculum, we went forward with the curriculum. We onboarded a technical expert to support us develop curriculums. So we have now successfully developed curriculums for 7 GIS programs in the university. The first program are short certification courses aligned within 9 thematic areas actually. So this was targeting most professionals, mostly the county governments who would want to do short crash courses on maybe GIS for health information management, GIS for rangeland management and all that. Then we did certificate to PhD. So that certificate, diploma, bachelor's, postgraduate diploma, MSc, that's Master of Science, and PhD. The bachelor's is a BSc. So all of them are around geospatial science, but of course with some bit of bias on natural resource management. So these curriculums have actually been completed, and that brings us now to GIS Week 2.0. So we're very excited to actually host the 2nd edition of GIS Week in Northern Kenya. Globally, as a community, we are celebrating 25 years of GIS. So this is the 25th anniversary of GIS Day. But as the region, we are celebrating the 2nd edition, or the 2nd anniversary for this. And then, of course, that's when we will also launch these curriculums that are ready. And we are hoping, or the expectation is that by January we'll be receiving the first enrollment, or the courses that will be mounted include certificate, diploma in the short courses, even as we await for the Commission of University Education to approve the bachelor's, postgraduate, MSc and PhD programs for this. Are we happy with the progress? Yes, we are, because there's some bit of growth. There's some bit of opportunity that we've presented. A lot of opportunity exists with some of the best universities, like the University of Twente, along funding, along partnerships, innovations, developing different tools that works for different thematic areas. So I'd also say that we are seeing the university, or we're opening up the university to not only the local community or to the country community, but even to the world.